Can I help you? I'm trying to film a video. It's a very serious video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Kelsey and I have put off making this video for a very long time. And I figured I just needed to do it, get it over with. I'm hoping that it can help someone. I don't know. I don't know how it would, but maybe me explaining my experience will let you know what to look for. If you ever have to go through something similar, I don't know. I need to talk about it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I had planned to put out a video documenting my surgery the day of and stuff like that, and it was going really well until I got to the hospital, and then it just kind of went downhill. And yeah, as you can tell from the title of this is my traumatic hospital story. I will put a trigger warning setting out what triggers are in here. I don't know right now what there'll be, but watching it back, they'll all come to me, I'm sure. Forgive me if I don't look into the camera much. I'm very anxious, and when I'm nervous and anxious, I don't like to make eye contact. And even though there's no one in front of me, you're in front of me. So forgive me, I will do my best, but it makes me anxious right now. So if you don't know, on April 1st, I had a surgery on my wrist to remove a cyst, and it's been healing pretty good. I only have it wrapped right now because I had a little bit of a scare today, so it's only wrapped for my peace of mind. And when my initial appointment for this surgery was September of 2019, and I originally had a date of January 2nd because I was flying home on the 1st, and then they had offered the 2nd, and I was like, there's no way I can get approval from work. I was just off for 2 weeks, like it's just too quick. And then 2020 hit and everything got postponed, and I just never heard from anyone. So last September, a year later, I did reach out to them again and just see where I was on the list, because I was phoning into their office, but I was getting a runaround a lot of the time, and anytime I asked a question, it was like, yeah, well, when we get to you, we get to you. And like, I understand that to an extent, but the doctor did say it should only be about 6 weeks, and I don't know if it was anticipated to be 16 months, but that's what happened. So when I did the follow-up call, they almost right away sent me an email with a surgery date, and it was, gosh, like March 24th or something like that. And then I went and had my initial appointment, or over the phone appointment or something, and it was found that I weighed too much for the equipment at the surgery center, so my surgery had to be moved to the hospital where they could accommodate me, and that meant having to wait for a new date. So I kind of lost hope and thought it was going to be another year, but they got back to me within a week with a new date of April 1st. Worked out really well because that was the long weekend here, so we had Friday and Monday off, so I knew I wouldn't have to take too much time off of work. And it worked out that I was transitioning at that time from one job, so it worked out fairly well. At that appointment, like at the initial appointment in 2019, we discussed what kind of anesthesia if needed and stuff like that, and I said I had the surgery done before. It was very hard to get through. I was awake because I was kind of pressured into being awake because I had mentioned to a nurse that I wanted to go shopping because I had it done in Banff, and I wanted to go shopping with my friend after. And she said, well, if you get put out, then you'd have to be here for a few hours, and by then everywhere would be closed and you wouldn't be able to go shopping. So I opted to be awake, and that was just not the right decision for me. And it was fine, but I could feel them in my hand, and that bugged me. And then just not being able to really be calm because I could just feel pressure, and I wanted to move my hand, but I knew it would be very bad if I did move my hand. So I was very scared and anxious. And if you really know me, I have severe anxiety when it comes to a lot of things. People often make fun of me for it. It's not something I'm proud to have or happy to have, and I think that closes me off from some people too. Like as soon as they kind of say something and then it hits a nerve, or it just, yeah, I tend to like back away from them and I don't really want to talk to them anymore. And so that's kind of sad. But anyway, we're getting off topic. So in that surgery, I didn't want to be awake for this one. I was like, I don't know what you can do. I don't necessarily want to be, like, in my mind, I was thinking of when I got my wisdom teeth out, they put that mask over your face and you're out. That's what I thought. I guess in my mind, I still don't quite understand why they can't just do that. But that's what I thought I was getting. It's just gonna be put out and everything would be fine. She said I would have to go into daycare for a few hours after. I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna take the time off work. I'm gonna do it the right way. So that's what we chose. And when I had the follow-up call that determined I wasn't able to go to the surgery center, it was again discussed there what kind of anesthesia I wanted. And I didn't know the names. Like I understand there's general anesthesia, but that's about it. I don't know what other types, but it was a type of anesthesia. That's all I know. I'm not a doctor. And she had asked again. I was like, I just want to be put out. I don't want to be awake for it at all. Like I want to be out before they even put the freezing in, if possible, like just out. And she's like, okay, yep, good. Everything seems fine. And I got my paperwork and everything seemed fine. And now fast forward to the day of my surgery. So I am living where I don't have very many close people right now, especially because of COVID. And with this surgery and the type of anesthesia I wanted, I was advised that I would have to have a responsible adult stay with me, and I didn't have one of those around that could come into my bubbles. So my mom came out for it. She only stayed for a few days. We did everything good. I'm glad I had the surgery when I did, because now everything is on practical lockdown. But so she arrived on the 31st, and that day things just went south with the employer that I had left, and it was just a very stressful day trying to get that all sorted out. And I don't deal well with stuff like that, but luckily, thank God, my mom was here. I don't know how I would have reacted and responded had she not been here, and so I'm very glad that she was here to help me through it. And it was just so frustrating, because everything bled over into the next morning, where I was still racing around trying to get things fixed like the morning of my surgery. And I could only drink like water and black coffee and stuff until 11:40. I had to stop eating at like midnight the night before, and I didn't do any of that. And that's probably where I ran into trouble with them trying to find a vein, because I didn't drink enough water. I'm trying to still drink enough water. And so I had like chugged water for like the 5 minutes to 11:40, and then we had to leave at about 12 to head to the hospital to get there by the check-in, because my surgery was scheduled for 2:40. When I got there, I got through everything. They made me take off my mask and put a medical grade one on. Then I went and got checked in. Then I had to go down to the waiting room where they were going to come and get me, and that's all I knew at the time. So I had sat there and I had taken out my phone and realized that I had a phone call from the hospital. So I'd listened to it, and it was a woman saying, I think you're already on the way, but if you get here sooner, the doctor's ahead of schedule. So in my mind, I was like, great, like there shouldn't be any rushing. Everything should be able to go like smooth. And that's what I needed. I needed time to process what was happening. And so I got there and they weighed me. Everything was fine. They took me to a bed, and I was under the impression, and I understand now this is very, very stupid of me, but I was under the impression that I would just have to take my shirt off and everything else could stay on. That was not the case. Everything had to come off. So, and I understand now, like, duh, you're in a sterile environment. You can't really have things that could have stuff on them. Once I was in the bed, everything started to happen so fast. I don't even, like, it does really feel like a blur. I had to write things down so I wouldn't forget. But I just remember this woman, she had like a computer on wheels, and she was on like a wheeled seat. And she was just asking the general questions, and then I was making small talk, and they were taking my blood pressure, they were asking me my name, everything like that. When she had asked like when the last time I drank anything, and I said I was like 11:39 this morning. And she's like, well, how much did you drink? And I was like, between 12 and 18 ounces probably. And she was like, well, I was cutting it really close to your surgery. And I was like, well, my surgery is scheduled for 2:40. I didn't know it was going to be early. And she's like, yeah, well, it's cutting it close. We'll have to see. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I was told 2:40. Like, no need to make me feel bad about drinking goddamn water. And after she was almost done, then an OR nurse came, started asking pretty much the same questions again. And then she had asked what kind of anesthesia I wanted. And I was like, well, that was discussed with the surgeon before. And I was like, I don't know what it's called, but like, I want to be out. And they're like, out? And I was like, out. I need to be out. And they're like, okay. Did more monitor, more testing, more cuff stuff. And then an anesthesiologist in training, bless his heart, he was actually the only one that made me calm down. And the anesthesiologist in training, like, his questions were pretty detailed because they were trying to figure out what anesthesia I needed. And I was like, I thought this was already determined. Like, I wasn't told the term of the anesthesia I needed. I didn't know. I just know that I needed to be out. And he was like, okay, well, we can like intubate you and do that, go that route. And I was kind of taken aback. I didn't, like I said, I thought there was a way, like with my wisdom teeth, that they could just give you laughing gas or whatever. I don't understand. I wish I had a bit more medical knowledge and maybe I could understand more. So I was like, ooh, like, is there any way to be knocked out without having to do that? Because it just makes me a little weird. I do have like lockjaw, and I just So he said that there was another way that we could do it. It's just medicine that will calm me down. It probably won't put me to sleep, but it will make me not realize where I am, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And then I confirmed, I was like, that'll just be like in my arm. And he was like, yeah, wherever they can find a vein, they'll just do it. And I confirmed. I was like, okay, and then this will put me out before anything starts happening on my wrist. And he's like, yeah, that's the plan. And then his superior, the woman who was training him, came and asked same questions. And then she stopped, and then she turned to him and was like, oh, can you go over what you guys discussed? So he goes over everything with her, and she wasn't really talkative, but she was like, yeah, okay, yeah, we can do this. She was checking all the blood pressure and stuff like that, and all the sheets, and everything seemed fine. And then next thing I knew, this was all in the span of maybe 20 minutes. Like, it was fast. And this entire time, I'm just so nervous. I'm like, I'm trying to think of the answers to these questions and make sure that they're true. It just stressed me out. And then finally an OR nurse was like, Kate, we're gonna get you ready to go. And then this older gentleman came in, and he was a volunteer nurse. He retired a few years ago, and now he just comes in to help out. So he was a character. He was the one that willed me to the OR. And he was very punny. He had a lot of puns. And he also had a lot to say about my colored hair, and that it's unfair that only young women can have colored hair. And I was like, I don't believe that's true. Anyone can have colored hair. It's fine. And he was like, yeah, well, you're a young woman. You're just saying that because you can have it. And no one would want to see color on my head and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't think that's true, but that's your opinion. And he's like, yeah, old people shouldn't have colored hair. And I was like, well, I'm dyeing my mom's hair tomorrow. So he's like, yeah, but it's not going to be as colorful as yours. And I was like, no, it's going to be blue. She bought blue hairspray, hair dye. It washes out, but she was still willing to do it. So I was like, no, and I think anyone can do it. As we're getting closer to the OR, I just started to get more and more nervous. And my anxiety started to get worse. And he was saying stuff that I wasn't really paying attention. Sorry, my heart is starting to beat fast because now this is the part of the story I don't like, because when I tell people it's like the off the cuff comment sometimes, and I know that they probably don't mean it that way, but it stings sometimes when I'm like, yeah, like it was really traumatic for me, and they're like, well, you're just dramatic, it's fine. And I'm like, okay, like I don't like the invalidation feeling sometimes. And I think that's why I separate myself from a lot of people. If you try and invalidate me or my feelings, I don't have time for that. I try and be as empathetic as I can with everyone. Although I struggle with that too sometimes, and it's something I'm working on. But it's just tough. So he wheeled me to the OR. We got there, and I had to get from the wheeled bed, onto the operating table. And I didn't think about that for some reason. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And I'm like in a gown that does not tie anywhere. I tried to tie it as best I could behind my neck, but it was barely there. And I'm there, and I have the male nurse on this side of me and a female nurse on this side, like kind of ready to make sure I don't roll off the table. And all of a sudden he reaches over me and starts pulling at my gown, and I was like, oh, well, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, well, we gotta get you over, and this way we don't want your gown to get caught. And then as I went to like move over, he lifted and I flashed the entire operating room. Thank God the nurse on this side like caught on real quick and like put it down and was like, okay, Jerry, it's not his name, but she was like, okay, Jerry, like I got it from here. And he's like, no, I'm trying to help. And I was like, Jerry. So then I think one of the other nurses could tell, so she had called him away to do something, but I was like, I don't do well with situations like that. I don't do well with situations with men at all, actually. So that was the first thing. And then I get there, and they were so sweet. This nurse was so sweet, because right away she's like, okay, get yourself in a position where you're comfortable. And I was like, ooh, like this is just really flat. And they're like, well, we can't have your head on a pillow or anything. And I was like, no, that's fine. It's just my back, because I have a big booty. If I try and lay flat on my back, I get this weird arch in my back and it hurts. And so I was like, I think I need like a pillow under there. And they're like, we can't really put anything under you there, but we could put pillows under your legs. And I was like, ooh, that actually would probably work. So we did that, and it was comfortable. I was fine. And so I had to have my arms kind of out because they started to prepare things. And the anesthesiologist and the guy in training came around. They came over, and she kind of grabbed my hand and started feeling around on my hand. And I was like, oh, you're not gonna poke my hand though, are you? And she's like, well, like where do you normally get poked? And so I said, like my arm up here. I've only ever gotten poked in my hand once and never again. I don't like that at all. And she's like, well, I always have more luck in the hand. So that was like another slap in the face. I was like, okay, like I just really have a fear of needles in my hand. So if you can, please try up here. And I said, like, I never have luck in the hand and it always hurts. Like, is there any way? And in that moment too, I was like, fuck, like, you should have drank more water. You should have drank more water to make your veins easier to find. But then I couldn't pay too much attention to her because they started to get things ready on this side, and I wasn't prepared for that. So immediately I started to like deep breathe. I was pretty much just like like I had to do that. I was starting to not be able to physically be able. It was hard to be able to try and like just keep it together. And so I think the surgeon could tell like things were starting to get stressful for me, and so she started asking questions like my name and what are we doing today and stuff to try and distract me, but it kind of just made me mad. I was like, I don't want to answer these questions. And so like this point, my anxiety is nearing the top. Like it's really hard for me to express something and not have someone listen to that, especially when I thought that like everything was planned out, everything was talked about and planned, and things just weren't going to plan at all. And then so they just started to sterilize and do things, nothing really major on this side, but of course in my head I'm like, what are they doing over here? What are they doing over here? And this woman over here started to poke my hand, and all I kept hearing was, oh, I got a good one. I got a good one. Okay, you're gonna feel poke. And then she poked, and she was like, nope, didn't get it. And then again, oh, there's a good one though. Let me try in this one. So I think I was poked in my hand 2 or 3 times, and then on the last one, I'm trying to think, because there was a point where I had my hand resting over here, and the surgeon was like, oh, okay, Kelsey, do you want to hold your hand up for me and see how long you can hold it up there for me? Because I think they were just prepping stuff and she was trying to distract me. And so as I'm about to lift up my hand, Jerry comes along and like grabs my hand and holds it up. And the surgeon was like, okay, Jerry, let's see if Kelsey can do it on her own. And I'm just like holding my hand. I'm not trying to fight him. I'm not trying to get away from him. I'm just had my hand up. And he was like, no, she's okay. And all this while he's prepping something. So he is moving my hand wherever like he needs to, because he's prepping something. And then the anesthesiologist on this side was like, okay, if you don't want to get poked more, like I'm going to need you to stay still. You need to stay very still. And I had to try with all my might to keep this hand still so that he wouldn't bump them, because I was still. I was staying still. And then I think she gave up in my hand and moved up to my arm. And like I'm still breathing so heavily this whole time, the like hardcore. And then in my arm they had to poke me 2 or 3 times too, but she ended up finding a vein. And I'm not sure if she had found the vein yet, but they had started to really get ready on this side, and the surgeon was like, okay, we're gonna just start with some freezing, but you can't move, don't move, and this is gonna hurt. And I was like, I said like not to say things like that to me. And like this sounds so silly, like me saying this, but it is how I felt and how this affected me. So they started poking with the freezing, and it was painful. I started breathing more, and the anesthesiologist in training was like patting my foot, and I don't think he realizes how much that helped me. Just knowing that someone was on my side, I guess you could say. Like I feel like he didn't know what he could do to help me other than just a bit of reassurance, which is what I guess I needed, because everyone just seemed very cold and very like, you've done this job your whole life, blah blah blah, you know how to do it, you're the expert, blah blah blah. I get that, but I also thought because they were ahead of schedule, things like this wouldn't happen. And it was like the opposite. It was like, oh well, we're ahead of schedule, I want to get out of here early, let's go, you know, like I'm sure that's not the case, but that's how it felt. And as I'm doing my breathing still, they had put the freezing in, so we were just waiting for that to kick in. And they were still doing stuff with this arm, although I don't really remember what they were doing. I just kept hearing people comment on my breathing, like, oh, that's some good breathing if I ever did hear it. And yes, keep breathing like that. That's good breathing. Oh, good breathing. And I was like, it was one of those moments where, like, you weren't doing it for people to comment on it. You were literally doing it so that you didn't hyperventilate and die. And so at this point, they're still doing stuff to this arm. And all I could stare up at was this light up there, and I just kept focusing. And I remember hearing the surgeon say, let me know if you can feel anything. And I didn't quite know what she meant by that. I don't know why, but in the moment I was like, meh. And about 10 seconds later, I could feel that scalpel. I could feel that scalpel in my skin. And I didn't want to freak out or pull my hand away or anything. So I said, like, oh, I can feel that a lot. And this whole time, I was so proud of myself. I didn't cry. I wanted to so bad, but I didn't. And so she was like, oh, okay, kiddo, I'm gonna give you another shot. So it was like another needle in my hand. And that's the last thing I really remember before waking up. I remember waking up on the way back to the recovery area because there was, God, at least 20 plus of people in beds. And I'm okay. Thank you, but I'm okay. Thank you. I'm okay. I'm okay. Go lay down. I'm okay. She's my emotional support animal. Anytime I'm crying or upset, she comes and tries to lick up my tears. The anesthesiologist, I think, was the one that was pushing me. And she said that I actually wouldn't have to stay as long as they thought because I didn't get intubated. She's like, that's really good. And I don't know why. I think it was just all my emotions that I had bottled up before going under just came out, and I was just bawling my eyes out. It was a little embarrassing, but she said, it's fine. And they gave me this little teeny tiny box of tissues. That was the cutest little thing. I wanted to steal it, but I didn't. I needed good karma. And so they put me back, and the nurse was like, hey, you can get dressed now. And like, I still had a thing in my arm and the gown, and I couldn't really use this hand at all. And remember, I didn't think I would have to take off all of my clothes, so I didn't exactly wear the easiest clothes to get back into, because they had just said to wear a shirt with like loose sleeves. That's all they said. And I'm just an idiot, I guess. Can I help you? So I got most of my clothes on, but I did tell one of the nurses, I was like, I think I'm gonna need you to come and help me put on my pants, because they have it was like a tighter waistband, but like everywhere else was loose, so I could get it up to my thighs, but I was having trouble like getting it over the hump of my booty. So she came back in, and I was facing away from her, and she must have thought she was dressing like a 3-year-old child, because she hiked up my pants so fast, so hard, so high. I almost did a face plant, but we got them on. That's all that matters. And then I just had to wait for my mom to come. So they gave me a glass of water, and I just got to chill and hang out until my mom came and got me. And I know in story form, it might not seem that traumatic on the surface to someone, but there was a lot that's happened in my past that has contributed to the anxiety that I feel in certain situations now. And not a lot of people know about that, so they might not understand this, but I feel like there are people out there that would understand this and can relate to this, and maybe this can show someone going through something like this that someone else went through it too. And this experience has made me not want to do it again, ever. Like with the last surgery, I was told there was a chance it could come back, and that surgeon would only operate 3 or 4 times, and then if it still kept coming back, like, you were stuck with it. And so, like, I didn't anticipate it coming back at all, but when it did, I was like, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. And when it started to really hurt and affect my work, where I couldn't type for very long, I'd have to take a break, so I could let my muscles and my hand rest. Like, it was stupid. So immediately I knew I had to have the surgery again. But now with what happened, I don't think I would have the surgery again. It's just that I made my wishes so clear that I wanted to be out before needles or anything would be stuck into this hand. And that I needed to be out to make it a good experience for everyone. And then being told that that can be accommodated and that can happen, and that this surgeon would make it happen. I mean, I feel like she's a good person and a good surgeon, and maybe I didn't communicate something properly, but if you're someone who does have anxiety in these types of situations, just try and make sure that your instructions and your words are clear, are concise, and make them repeat them back to you if you have to, so that everyone is on the same page. And I mean, if I absolutely had to go back for a surgery or anything, I would probably be so clear to the point where I'd be a bitch about it, which is sad. Like, I don't want to be that way. It's just being in those moments, feeling like you're not being heard. I feel like it's those moments that really flash you back to other times when it's happened in different situations, and it's in my head. I keep coming back to the word consent, and it's like, I did not consent to being awake while doing that. I consented to being asleep, and I was told that that would happen, and it didn't happen, and I wasn't explained why that couldn't happen. And it's like, I just didn't see any reason for it to happen that way. Like, the doctor was ahead of schedule. I got out and was picked up by 3 o'clock, and my original surgery was supposed to be at 2:40. I was estimated to stay there until like 6, and I was in my mom's car by like 10 after 3. There was enough time, and I mean, I guess they do maybe overbook in the event that things are sped up, so they want to get through as many surgeries as possible, but it's not a fucking race. I rather would have been told to come back the next day if it meant having more time. Like, I don't know, I guess being a day surgery, and you're just another name on a sheet, like, you don't really matter, so they made that clear. I went for my follow-up, and everything is fine and looks good, but she said that I wasn't able to really do anything for at least another month, not even hold a cup of coffee. So the things that I use to cope when my triggers happen, I'm not able to do right now. So in a sense, I feel a little bit like I'm going crazy, but I know it's not forever. But I need to just take care of my hand and make sure that it heals properly, because right now it does not feel right. And again, when I try and tell some people like that my hand doesn't feel right and I'm just concerned about it, it's, don't be over dramatic. I'm sure everything's fine. Like, it's fine. Everything's just swelling. It's fine. But it's still something that I'm genuinely concerned with. So then when like people respond like that, you kind of get the signal, like, you don't talk about that kind of stuff with them. And so then I feel like I'm running out of people to talk to about things, and so I'm trying to work on that. I also started a new job, and once medical benefits kick in, I'm definitely going to seek out a counselor. I've had counselors in the past, and I think they could be life-changing, so I'm looking forward to getting another one of those. And if you need someone to talk to, like, reach out. There are so many different avenues and ways to reach people, especially nowadays. Like, I'm not doing it right now, but I will be in the future. I'm not feeling at my lowest that I absolutely need that, but it's on my list of to-dos for sure. And for me, it just makes the most sense to wait until I have my benefits. So that's what I'm doing. But I have another appointment like the 2nd or 3rd week of May. So hopefully I get good news there, but I need to bring up, like, my hand still hurts so much. And I am trying to keep in mind that the last surgery I had, my incision was like really small, and this time it was quite a bit bigger. So I'm trying not to compare this time to last time because it's not the exact same surgery, but like the blood flow to my hand still isn't the greatest, and namely to like these 2 fingers. And then I still, where my cyst was, I still have a huge lump there, so I don't know what that is. It was frustrating, but because if this was all for nothing, like, I'm gonna try and stay positive that it's gonna be fine, and once the rain stops, I'll be able to get out again and not be so stuck. But I have Keela. You are my emotional support animal. And as long as I have her, I will be fine. And this video isn't meant to, like, for people to pity me or feel sorry for me at all. It's just my experience and my feelings. And I hope that maybe this helps someone out there. Please feel free to comment. I will respond. Don't let people invalidate your feelings or how you feel. Well, if you made it this far, I really, really, really appreciate it more than you know. It seems so bad saying if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, but if you can relate to this video or understand what I'm going through, hit that like button. This is not a typical video I do. I'm not a story time kind of person, but it was just a story I wanted to tell and I felt like I had to tell. So thank you so much, and I hope now with this being filmed that we can move on to happier content, different content, better content, and get back into feeling good, thriving, all that fun stuff, because that is what we love. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and we will be seeing you next time. Bye, guys.